welcome to the Agents of Fandom podcast. Usually we say welcome to 11-7, but that's TJ's thing, and I try not to steal things here on the show. It is myself, Damon Gray, as your host, and today I have Carlos, who I haven't seen virtual face-to-face. So I think we did like a Comic Corner episode before the Comic Corner was even the Comic Corner.
That's right.
It was a long time ago. We talked about like our favorite books of like 2022. That's how long ago it was.
Right. Yeah, we talked about 8 Billion Genies. Wow, it's been a minute.
Yes. Oh man, a modern day classic at this point. And also, welcome back, Jamie Jirak.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Of course. Always. We're here to talk Andor. First, Carlos, before we get started on this week's batch of episodes, what were your thoughts on season one? How did you like season one? Didn't like season one? And what were your thoughts on your first three so far?
I think season one is my favorite Star Wars anything, and it's also one of my favorite series of the past 5 to 10 years. I think it's brilliant. I think it's exactly what we need right now. And it's also like Rogue One is also my favorite of the movies. So like it kind of fits right in. As far as the second season, I was very hesitant about the 3-episode drops. I was kind of scared, and I think I'm kind of digging them because they're kind of like weekly movies at this point, where it's like a movie of the week. I just get to watch, a long form Star Wars. It's almost like dropping a comic book like story arc all at once. Like, here you go. Here's 3 issues of Daredevil or whatever. Was there more?
I totally agree with that.
Forgot.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. That idea of it. It really does feel like a little movie of the week. For us, we have 24 hours to watch said movie, so you're on a quicker timeline. Jamie, what did you think about the first 3 episodes of season 2, and just your thoughts on season 1 as a whole?
Yeah, well, season 1, I always say Obi-Wan is my favorite Star Wars show, but Andor is the best Star Wars show. Like, there's no Obi-Wan I could watch every day. Andor, I watched the first season twice because it's a little too bleak for constant rewatching. But I just binged the first season in one sitting, and that was really cool. But I have mixed feelings about this 3-episode drop. I agree that it is cool if they're their own little arcs. Like, clearly, based on what we saw this week, it seems like there's a year jump. I'm going to assume each time. I don't know. I haven't seen the next ones. So that's neat. It's unique, but it's also like these are long. And like I wanted to go see Revenge of the Sith last night, so I didn't get home till 11 o'clock, and I'm all jet lagged from Japan. My brain is like not working. So I got through 1 episode last night, and I was like, I'm confused. Like it's complex for Star Wars, but it's not complex for normalcy. So I'm like, I need to go to. I can't. But I just finished it 10 minutes ago. I'm a little pissed, you guys. But I guess we'll talk more about that when we get to the 3rd episode today. But the first 3 I loved. I was really, really into it. It's just it's a good well-written show.
I wonder why you're mad. I feel like it's a reason a lot of us are mad. Before we get into Andor, we always like to do a little Whatcha Watching. Carlos, what you been watching? What you been reading?
I have been kind of slogging through this latest season of Black Mirror. It's not as fun. Like the first episode is like just super depressing, honestly. And from that point on, I was like, okay, I guess I'm not binging this. I'm just going to take it piecemeal. But then to kind of lighten the mood, I've been watching Government Cheese on Apple TV Plus, which is kind of like a Coen Brothers-y, Wes Anderson-y style of filmmaking, telling the story about this ex-convict who he's come home. His family's kind of still feeling him out. They're maybe estranged, but he has kind of changed himself in prison, and he's got this invention that he thinks is going to, take him to the next level. But he maybe is out of prison because he owes, maybe a group of Canadian gangsters are the reason he's out of prison. It's wacky, and I'm not doing it justice, and yet it's 100% accurate. Everything I've just said. It's fun though. It's a good watch. Good hang.
Jamie, I know it's Thunderbolts week. Have you seen it yet?
Oh yeah, I did, and I loved it. Check out the Phase Hero episode dropping soon. I don't actually know when it's dropping, but it will be soon. I thought it was great. I've also this week I've seen Revenge of the Sith twice in theaters. It is now officially tied with Twilight as the movie I've seen the most in theaters. Very exciting for me. I saw Sinners. That was great. I just finished season 1 of Shrinking finally, and I really loved that. And I'm also watching The Studio and Hacks. And I'm in a big TV phase this week, and it's enjoying. I love Studio and Hacks are both. I love shows about Hollywood and stuff. So those are both my kind of jams.
Revenge of the Sith was the first Star Wars movie I ever saw in a theater.
Oh.
So I have a little attachment towards it. It's easily my favorite of the prequels and probably one or two on my all-time Star Wars rankings. And we're all kind of within that generation where we're a little extra attached to that one specifically.
Yeah.
I just finished reading this issue of Ultimate Spider-Man. If you haven't been reading Ultimate Spider-Man, golly, I've been talking about it like crazy. The Ultimate books have been fantastic. This one in particular. Carlos, if you told me in our conversation back in 2022 that a Spider-Man book would be my favorite comic book on the shelf right now, I would have laughed at you dead in your face.
If you would have told me that the Ultimate Universe and the Absolute Universe are the best things going at either of the big two, I would have said something terrible has happened. Something's gone wrong. But I think that's absolutely correct. Well, yes, absolutely. No, Jeff, that's like the Bible. We don't even count it as part of the bestsellers. Yeah.
Shout out to Jeff Book. The Jeff trade paperback just came out this week. And I will mention it now for anyone watching. This week is Free Comic Book Day. Go to your local comic book shops. They have a bunch of free comics. No, that doesn't mean every comic in there is free. They have promotional comics so you can pick up. Some stores limit the numbers you can get. But when you go there, buy some books too. Get some trade paperbacks. Get some single issues. If you're a Scarlet Witch fan, maybe a Multiverse of Madness fan, there's a TVA book that came out this week that may have some MCU implications. Who knows? It may not. I'll leave it at that. But MCU Talk is for Friday. We will be having our Thunderbolts reaction Friday at 8 p.m. right here on the Agents of Fandom channel. Today is for Andor. Andor's episodes 4, 5, and 6 dropped today. And we got pretty lucky in week 1 where we're able to just kind of like recap things that happened planet by planet. We're able to say things that happened on planet Moron, where we just had a bunch of people who didn't know what were going on and they didn't trust their own feet. We had Naboo Raska, as Carlos proclaimed it, where we just had an entire planet full of corn. We had a bunch of different planets, but today we go to Gorman, the famous Gorman, where they have web weavers, spiders, a lot of spiders. This place loves their spiders. And I feel like, honestly, the easiest way to do this is just kind of like give a quick little recap per episode at this point, and then we'll talk about what we like, what we didn't like. Cyril's in Gorman. He's infiltrating the rebellion for Deidre. Luthen learns Deidre's on Gorman and wants to send Andor to help find more. Mon Mothma sees that there's just kind of like stuff going on in Gorman, and she's like, "What's going on with that?" And is trying to bring some other senators to her cause. Unsuccessfully, if I do say so. Wilman gets caught up with Saw Gerrera. That's a whole thing that happens. And Cassian and Bix have a lovely romantic moment, but because Cassian has to leave to go to Gorman, Bix just kind of has to stay and watch some terrible Coruscanti television program. That's pretty much episode 4.
Can I say when I was watching with Tony, and those like Good Morning Coruscant ladies came up, Tony goes, "Oh, you're finally represented in Star Wars." Yeah, that is me. There was finally a character that I could be like, "Oh yeah," I'm like, "That's me." They had Hunger Games vibes though. It looked like I was like Stanley Tucci was gonna walk out any second.
I wouldn't mind just seeing some shorts on just Good Morning Coruscant. Like, it doesn't have to be like a whole, everyone's like, I want a whole show. Give me some YouTube shorts.
Yes.
Give me like some 2-minute, 3-minute clips that will just be like rather funny. I did get heavy like Capital Hunger Games vibes, like you mentioned. So absolutely. Carlos, what did you think about this episode 4? My biggest criticism of this season so far, more so than season 1 is that the first 2 episodes are pretty slow. They're pretty slow. They're a lot of setup. And then you have like your big shebang at the end. What'd you make of episode 4?
I'm digging the double cross, triple cross, the different factions of the rebellion that don't get along and are kind of like varying levels of crazy. I also think like justice for Bix. This poor woman it's been years and she's still having these waking nightmares. At this point, like she is basically on par now with like Jenny from Forrest Gump, from like, we're just going to punish this character in every scene. Everything that will happen to her, like that can happen, is happening to Bix. I'm digging all of the political intrigue though. Like that's more my jam than the action set pieces, which I still love, but I'm digging more the political stuff.
I agree with you. I really enjoy the political stuff. Specifically when it involves like Mon Mothna kind of going around the little like political negotiations. I enjoy that stuff. The things with Luthen, a little political spy-esque things going on with him. Jamie, what did you make of episode 4?
Yeah, I agree. I don't know if I would call it slow, but I do understand what you're saying when you say that. I agree about the political intrigue. It's funny because sometimes I forget I'm watching Star Wars, and then all of a sudden, like a walrus man shows up, and I'm like, oh yeah, there are aliens in this show. And it's happened to me a couple times. There was a creature in I think it was the second or third one that looked like a polar bear man.
Yes.
I need him. I need a toy or something. I need to figure out what he's called. But yeah, no, I really like what's going on in Gorman a lot. I think because like I said, my brain's like a little slower than normal. Like normally, like I'd be like, cool. And I'm like, wait, I had to ask something like Cyril's playing them, right? Like my brain is just not at full capacity, which sucks because I know I'm smarter than that. But I'm glad I have someone sitting next to me. Yeah, the 4th episode, I watched this last night and it feels like I watched it 5 years ago. Like I had to watch the recap this morning. So yeah, I don't like bugs, and I would hate to live on a planet or where spiders. I don't like any of those kind of things. Where it's like, here's a souvenir, a giant spider.
I'm calling those things metaphorachnids because see they weave a web.
Oh, Madam Farachnid.
I mean, they're metaphors, they're arachnids, they're metaphorachnids.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Love it. Love it. I thought you were about to get a little Madam Web in there as well.
They were also in the Amazon with my mother. Yes, they were.
I can't not look at that planet and be like, what if Switzerland and Australia just had a weird little baby? Like they're like, we have like the big tube, like the tube horn people, and then just giant spiders.
And their language, like I'm like, yeah. I was like, their language sounds like just like a European language.
It's sort of like vaguely German French. Like, yeah, so it is. Yeah, it is.
Well, the like main Gorman guy played a Nazi in Inglourious Basterds. So like I assume he's German in real life.
Who among us hasn't played a Nazi in Inglourious Basterds?
The Empire's strategy on Gorman, though, is very interesting. We start to see it play out where Daedra specifically was kind of like headlining the plan of the only way for this to work is we kind of like back a little bit of the rebellion itself, and you have somebody you can point your finger at in the end. Carlos, what'd you make about that whole plan with Daedra?
I mean, it's historically accurate. It's kind of how things. I mean, and we'll keep it one episode at a time. It is interesting that this is how they're going about. This is how they see Gorman, is like, we can't just take it. We need them to act first so that we're justified in the force that we're going to lay down on them, but we are going to push them to push us. And yeah, that's kind of how things work in the world.
Jamie, I brought up on last episode specifically with the events of episode 3 with Bix, how sometimes metaphors, and Carlos, you know, Gail Simone, famed comic book writer, she had an amazing point. And it was sometimes metaphor is important. Sometimes metaphor, you can introduce someone to a concept they're maybe not familiar with and bring some more people in and be like, oh, now I understand it. But it's just as important to just straight up show something like that happening in episode 3. And this whole thing with Gorman and them using the rebels on Gorman as just like a finger pointing, we got you. It's not subtle. It's very on the nose, but it does it in a very good way.
I feel like it's subtle for Star Wars. You know what I mean? Like, in a way, there's, it is. It's evil. It's evil shit. But it's cool to see the inner workings of the, like, you know, they're an empire and they're evil because they're smart. You know, and now let me tell you, not all evil people are smart. I think we know that in reality. But these villains are particularly smart.
And I mean, our history is sort of littered with this. Like, go back and, you know, look at Pearl Harbor. FDR wanted to get us into World War II, but he couldn't. There was no morale because we had just come out of World War I, and you know, everyone's like, "We're not doing this again. We're good. We're separated on either side by oceans." But FDR knew we needed to be in this war. We needed to have some skin in this game. He puts a blockade on Japan that stops their oil supply in the middle of a war, and they are forced to retaliate. And Pearl Harbor happens, and the next day, you know, we're in it, and we became a superpower because of it. And the morale could not have been higher for the war. This is what they do. They being us.
They being an empire. Jamie, last thoughts on episode 4 before we go to episode 5?
You know what? No, I just want to say that I love Mon Mothma so much. That's just a general statement that we'll continue to talk about. But it's also nice to have her be like the only character in the show where it's like she's gonna survive the show. So that's nice. The only guarantee of Andor is that Mon Mothma's not gonna die. So that's so I've clung to her.
In episode 5, we will recap pretty much like this. Clea takes on a pretty big role in this arc, and we'll get more into her in the next episode. Cyril is being used to kind of like infiltrate the Gorman rebels, being used as a spy. When he finally gets praised, he's like, oh, this is the greatest day of my life, which is like, we just talked about, it's like, Cyril's like funny, because sometimes I'm like, you're smarter than you look, but at the same time, I'm like, I can't help but think you're also an idiot. Just like a little bit of an idiot. Cassian's trying to teach the Gorman rebels like how to be rebels, but he's kind of looking around. He's like, there's no real chance here. And his heart's really just not in the game. So he kind of gets out of it. They have this whole discussion, which is really fascinating, about Tarkin's massacre in like the center, like the city center. And then we go back to Will with like Saw Gerrera's just mess going on over there. And in the end with him, I was fairly confused. Is he pretty much just like getting people high on gas? And it's like, yep, you caught that high. Now you can't leave.
Is that why he talks like that? Like, was he like, I have complicated feelings about Saw Gerrera. but you finish your recap.
I mean, that was pretty much it. That was like the last thing. He's like, freedom. And I'm like, oh, wow, you just got high.
Jesus.
All right.
I've seen Rogue One a lot of times. Like, realistically, probably 35, 40 times. And every time I Saw's on, I laugh. I think he's a really funny character unintentionally. I love Forrest. I think he's fantastic. But it's just like, to me, it's like such a serious character. But he's just the way he talks is, and like, the way that he takes things seriously and the way his mind works. So to watch him go absolutely bananas, I'm like, oh, this is what I want from this character. Because I know this character is freaking nuts, and I want the show to know, to confirm for me that he's nuts. So that was I was really happy with that.
Are we also official, like, the guy who he shot in the head and he's like, he's a spy. Was he actually, or is he just like losing his mind? because we
I
can.
asked Tony
the
that.
things with
I was
him-
like,
yeah.
yes. I literally was like, Tony, am I missing this? He's like, no, I'm pretty sure that guy was a spy. I suspected him. And I'm like, okay, but I don't know. Carl's
I think-
shaking his head.
I think we're not supposed to know. I think we're not sure. But I don't think he was. I think Saw doesn't trust him because Saw doesn't trust anyone because Saw is ketamined out, essentially. He is tripping. But I know, because I've also seen Rogue One, 400 times, Saw Gerrera is going to be like Temu Darth Vader in like 2 years. He's going to be, is this because he's huffing? Is that why? Is like,
so.
Has he damaged his lungs so badly that he's now a walking?
I think he's huffing the gas.
Yes, absolutely.
Just so he can stay high.
So that's what he was saying, that the gas. Oh, I see what you're saying. The gas burned the other people's lungs and their skin, whatever. But because the gas is his sister, it's like
it's
all
more
right.
of like it's a high he always can chase. So if he always has access to it, and now Will. This is like TJ and I's interpretation of it, because we were going back and forth, because I'm like watching, I'm like, what the hell did I just watch?
Mm-hmm.
And my interpretation of it is he's trying to essentially get Will hooked on it too, to make sure he can't leave, because it's an addiction thing.
That makes sense. That tracks. You saying that he's like always trying to get high, even in like up to Rogue One. I'm like, oh, he's like Dennis Hopper in Blue Velvet. Like that is like kind of the vibe he gives off, which is not a good vibe to give off. But you might be right. Poor Will. No one thriving in this show. Everyone's struggling.
So I was saying Temu Darth Vader, but you're saying Temu Bane, that he's just got this like ice. Okay, yeah. No one cared who I was before the mask.
What's the Star Wars equivalent of Temu?
Yeah, I don't know. It's probably just like Muti, and it's just like not subtle at all. The commercials air during Good Morning Coruscant. The thing I'm digging about that arc, about the gas and all of that, is kind of the crux of his monologue is, hey man, we're not going to survive this, so we might as well go all out. Like there's no reason to try to preserve our bodies from the damage that this gas is going to do, because we're not meant to survive past this war. And I kind of dig it. Like it's kind of like every EDM song, like we've got tonight and that's it. Tonight is it, and that's kind of Saw Gerrera's
millennial EDM hope.
Yes, exactly.
Man, yes, of the 2010s. That's our era.
I did really like when he's like, "We're not going to live to see the Republic come back," because that is kind of the thesis of this show, of Andor, of Rogue One. And so, like, he may be cuckoo bananas, but he's still like, he's not wrong.
There were some bars in there. I mean, like, it's kind of Old Dirty Bastard vibes. Like, you might be nuts, but you're dropping bars.
I want to go back to Gorman for a minute, because when Cassian was in his hotel room pretending to be this, like, I'm an architect, and I'm like, all right, we have personas already. This is fun. And they go in, and yet still nobody, like, no one in the Empire has this guy's face anywhere yet. Whatever. We're just moving on past that at that point. So he goes in and he has this really serious conversation about the massacre that happened in like this city center area, and how, correct me if I'm wrong, the Empire is trying to essentially build their armory, or whatever they're quote unquote trying to build there in a very delicate spot. That's just wild stuff. Jamie, what'd you make about all that?
I love that scene. And I really like the idea that like Tarkin is such this like scary presence, but we don't necessarily see him, because back when Rogue One came out and we got the Tarkin, at that time was like, oh, that's cool technology, but that was the beginning of a very bad trend that I despise. Like, I wish that never happened, because it's just been a mess since then. Like, Ian Holm and Alien Romulus and all these things. Like, I don't want to see dead actors and things. And like, I'm very happy with the idea that Tarkin's just a presence that we're talking about and not somebody we're seeing, because we know that man's scary. And the fact that like he did that is fucked up. He landed a cruiser on a crowd of people. That's bleak shit right there. But I like this scene for a lot of reasons, because it shows, this guy, all the Gormans we've seen are like ready to fight, and this is just a bellhop who's just trying to live his life with a wife and get by. And I think that's an interesting perspective.
I always like when the people of Star Wars, the people in the universe get a little bit of a moment. You get to see how people think. But to go back to the fact that we didn't see it, sometimes it's a classic horror thing. Sometimes not seeing it is scarier than seeing it. You let your brain do the work. Carlos, what'd you make about the whole Tarkin stuff?
Yeah, he's basically the boogeyman. You don't have to show him. We know. We know. We're watching, but the people they know him. They've heard the stories. To get back to your, how has no one else seen Andor's face at this point? Also, like, no one else is like, hey, he had like an accent that no one else in this galaxy has. It's just kind of like an accent, and he had like a way, and like I feel like everybody would be like, I know that guy. Yep, I know exactly who that is. No, but the Tarkin thing, it reminded me of that famous image of the protester standing in front of the tank. Like, Tarkin's like, yep, you can all stand right there. We're going to land this thing on you.
Last thing on the episode, I mentioned it earlier. What do we make of Cyril at this point? Because he's like the guy who we mentioned is smart, but at the same time, kind of an idiot. Kind of a pushover. We have that whole thing with his mother in previous episodes, which I love those interactions, by the way. I thought that was just like, I know it's not like the Star Wars where it's like, this is Star, but like, that's drama right there. Jamie, what do you make of Cyril?
I love Cyril. Like, I can't wait for it. I hope him and Deidre like die together in some really funny way. That's like, you fucking idiots. I love these two. They're so much fun to watch because like they're like company men, right? Like they're bad people, but it's only because they're rule followers. Like they don't see beyond that. To them, this is the way, and it's fun to watch them operate because they're not passionate about anything really. They just want to climb the ranks and do good by their emperor kind of a thing. But they're funny. Like the scene in the third episode, which we'll get to, like the turn off the lights scene. Like, I was cracking up. These are two, like, I'm glad they found each other. Let's just say that.
It's strange watching a relationship like that, where it's like the sterile nuclear family to just like the weirdest possible level, like cranked up to 12. Carlos, do you like Cyril? Do you not like Cyril? Are you a Cyril fan?
When Cyril in the first batch of episodes is describing, he's like bringing on the new hire, and he's describing how he found 200 credits that were moving between these two accounts, and that led to him, finding this big. I'm by trade an anti-money laundering investigator. That's what I do. I find money laundering rings, human trafficking rings, like terrorist financing rings through people's bank transactions. So I was like, oh no, I think he's my patron saint now. It's like, I think
he's to you with the ladies on the TV, aren't
Exactly. So yeah, I have love for Cyril because I know what it's like to look at spreadsheets and go, I think there's something happening here. But I feel like he just wants someone to approve of him, and I don't necessarily think it matters. He thinks it matters. I think that the Empire, like recognizes him, but I think he may not. he may just like some senpai, please notice me, like, please.
Yes, that's good. Quite literally, yes. I gotta say, my last thing on this episode is to go back to something I said on the previous episode when he did that whole I found this and I got promoted and I'm doing so great. We've all probably known somebody like that.
Mhm.
And I instantly wanted to kick that man in the face. Like, oh my God. We've all probably either worked or met someone exactly like that, where they just brag about one thing, maybe two things they did, and their entire life is based on that moment. You're just like, shut up.
In my
But
line
that's
of
my
work,
yeah.
in my line of work, when you meet a new, like, you get a new hire, you're like, okay, so how long have you been doing this? Like, oh, 8 years. Like, what's the craziest thing you've ever seen? And they'll go, $50 check. It looked like it was coming from, and they'll like, and it'll lead you to like this thing. It's like, okay, you didn't exactly take down the Taliban, but like you found an old lady who was like trying not to pay taxes. Congratulations.
Jamie, last thoughts on episode 5 before we get into this bombastic finale.
Yeah, it feels like it all comes down to episode 6, right? Like, I have like little things to say about 4 and 5, and then I'm like, let's go, let's talk about 6. So yeah, 4 and 5 were good episodes. 5 was a good episode of television. But like you guys said, it's an arc for a reason. It builds.
It's a very slow simmer for me, and then it completely, as had in the previous 1 through 3, just completely boils over in the finale in episode 6. Let's see if TJ's little rundown is going to do this justice. We have an epic finale into the arc. Cassian returns home to Bix. Vel and Cinta are kind of like over there on Gorman because he's just like, I can't do this anymore. And Bix is kind of using something, spice, liquid spice, whatever you want to call it. She's using something to help cope with the fact that she's just kind of all there alone. Since it's back, her and Val train the rebels and decide to stay because they're going to go help them out. They do. They try to help them out. And in the process, Cinta gets shot. Because an idiot didn't follow instructions. Always fun. Hey, we got a Bail Organa cameo in this. Now played by Benjamin Bratt.
This is like when you thought you were getting Dylan McDermott and you get Dermot Mulroney. It's like, what happened here? Yeah.
And then my favorite part was Clea really doing her best to remove this audio device from this statue that they have, and it was really high tension moments. And then at the very end, it appears that Cassian and Bix deal with, oh God, what's the doctor's name? There's so
Gorman.
Thank you. There's so many characters on the show.
Dr. Gorman or Dr. Gorst?
Gorsty, I don't even know. You're right. Gorman's the planet.
I was driving in the car today saying Dr. Gorst in my Diego Luna voice, like Dr. Gorst, Dr. Gorst.
Oh, I'm really working at low brain capacity. Yeah, that guy.
All right, let's start with the thing that I'm sure Jamie's probably the most upset about. R.I.P. Cinta.
Here's the thing. Should I just go into it? Should I just get into my rant?
Go into it.
Okay, so I know a lot of people online are dropping like bury your gays trope as what's going on here. And I'm conflicted because on one hand, everyone's going to die in this show, right? Like there's nothing wrong to me with killing a queer character. Everyone dies. Like people die. But the way they executed it is fucking annoying. Excuse me. So like they have that scene and they kiss. And like this is the first real queer moment we've ever gotten in Star Wars. Like that we have that little kiss at the end of The Rise of Skywalker that no one cares about. Who are those women? No one cares. That they easily got to cut out of in other countries, whatever. And literally that scene happened and I was like, oh, that was great. One of them is about to die. Like it was, that's the thing. It was obvious to me. Like, and that pisses me off because it's like, is that good writing? I don't know. But here's the thing about barrier gaze and again, I'm not saying that's what this is, but that trope kind of stems from Tara on Buffy. And do you know how Tara on Buffy died? A stray bullet. Then we've got Lexa on the 100. Her death spawned an entire movement. There's a con called Klexicon based on the ship, the queer lesbian sapphic ship. You know how Lexa died? a stray bullet. Like, stop killing these things with stray bullets. That's what's getting me. It's tropey in a weird way that it's fine that she died. Just maybe let them kiss and have their sweet moment an episode ago, not the scene before. It just doesn't feel right to me. I don't like it.
1, 2, 3. There's probably more times, but those are just like 3 big examples of it. It is a trope at this point. I do agree. The second that they had a nice little scene, I was just like, one of them gonna die. And it's, to me, you said, is it good writing? To me, it's not, because it's predictable at that point. It would have been a shock if we didn't see that coming. That one would have hit pretty hard. Carlos, R.I.P. Cinta, do you feel bad for the kid? Are you angry at the kid?
All of those things, yes. I'm so sorry that you're an idiot. I feel so bad that you are worthless. But I will say I did not expect one of them to survive the series. I did think we were going to get a little bit more time, just because of the and I think this was good red herring writing. All of the Cinta saying I'll tell you someday. I'll tell you later about things that have happened. I was like, oh, there's going to be another hint to this. No, it's not. This was it. And I thought we were getting because they're doing 1 year jumps, I thought we were going to get one more scene with them. And for this to be the way, to go out, you've dedicated your life to this cause and you're going out like that. It sucks. It does. It sucks all the way around.
I want to add that in the first season, when we learned that there were a couple, and we learned that Cinta's entire family were killed by stormtroopers, it's maybe though that these characters they could get a happy ending. They could have the fight, and they could be the two that survive. Let's give the Staffix a happy ending. But that was stupid of me to think that at all.
Plenty of other media for you to pick that on. Not in Star Wars. No. Before I want to save the whole art statue thing for the end, because to me that was the most compelling thing. Bix and Cassian taking out Gorst was a nice closure moment for Bix. Carlos, what'd you make of that?
First of all, I love Adria Arjona. I'd give her all of the things. I think she's incredible. I think she's at this point an underrated actress because she is playing this character. I felt so good. I was please hook him up. I want to see the torture happen. And leaving him and just walking out and be yeah, we're just going to leave it on, repeat. That's it. It's going to be, my Kid in the Chapel Roan albums. It's just going to keep playing. It's not going to stop. Dug it. Totally dug it.
Again.
I was so relieved when we saw that Cassian was working with her on this, because I was oh no, big snap, she's gone rogue. I was genuinely whoo, I was so glad he was helping her there at the end. Because I don't think she's gonna survive this. So I hope that when things do go down, I hope she has some fight in her, because it's sad to see her so defeated.
No, I absolutely agree that I really like the fact that Cassian was there, especially because I think one of my biggest criticisms of this show so far is that Cassian's kind of barely been in this show. He really hasn't been. And I feel like he's almost in this show less than Boba Fett is in his show at this point. It's quite impressive. Does that bother either of you at all?
I didn't clock that. I didn't think of it.
Okay.
The only time I think of it is when the titles come up before the episode, because I'm oh yeah, this is called Andor. And Andor's not the...
No, sorry, continue.
Oh, I was going to say, Andor's not the name of a place. It's the name of this one character who is definitely part of this giant, Aaron Sorkian, West Wingy kind of ensemble. There could be an entire episode that he has nothing to do with, and it would be compelling. But please go ahead.
I just want to use this platform to say I don't like the Andor logo. I don't like that the O is different than the rest of the letters. It really bothers me. Every time I see it, I'm
it's supposed to be the Death Star, Jamie.
Oh, okay. I don't like it.
It's artistic. That's not a moon, get it?
Oh, Okay.
Oh boy. So am I the only one like this Clea with the art, like trying to get the microphone out of this thing? That to me was like the most compelling part about this episode. And I don't even know if she got it out.
She did.
I assume she did.
Doesn't she toss it to Luthen?
Does she? Maybe I
They
blanked.
they were too happy in the end for her not to have
Okay.
succeeded. I really like her. I think she's quite compelling, and I agree with that whole scene. The guy that's spying for them. One of my only complaints about season 1 is that we never really saw him much do anything until he was revealed. It would have been cool if we had seen him do some things before he was revealed. So anytime they give him something to do, I'm like, good. Like this guy has a cool job. Let's see more of him. But he's kind of a little. Like he's weak, I'll say. I don't know how he's lasted this long.
Just follow instructions, bro. We're all in this together. Move to your left. Just listen. She's like, move to left. And he's like, no. And I'm like, well, if you don't, you won't die anyway.
I'm calling this guy Lieutenant Weasley because I don't remember names. So Lieutenant Weasley, yeah, he if he wasn't red-haired, I would not remember him from scene to scene. So it's good that he is, and I think that's why he is.
That's funny.
Yeah.
I really like that they gave Clea this moment. Or Clea. Well, I don't know how to pronounce her name, but I really like they gave her this moment because she goes back and forth with Luthen or either earlier on this episode or the previous episode where she was like, hey, you agreed to this too. And he's like, and I'm like, no, you agreed to this too. But she's taking the responsibility to deal with the situation. And it almost feels like Luthen's just like, he's like, we're drowning. And it's like, yeah, you're drowning. So what? You're not going to swim? Mm-hmm. You're just going to like accept your fate? Like you're not going to do something about it. So I like that they gave like the quote unquote assistant, quote unquote, like the big moment to be like, no, I'm going to step up and do something because we all need to do something in order to make this work. And that's kind of the whole point of Andor is that everyone has to step up to make it work, or else you end up with like the people on planet Nimrod who don't trust their own feet and literally are just like shooting at each other. Poor Cassian's over there where he's just like, hey, you guys want to catch this water? Because it's probably not going to rain again anytime soon. I'm like, oh, yeah.
I like that she's also the only one who's really willing to stand up to him. You know, I love the way she talks to him. Like, she's not taking bullshit from him, and she never has. Even in season 1, she had a smaller role, but she was still always willing to put up a fight with him in a way that he needs. He needs to get in check a little bit. And even though in their facade, in their shop, he's her boss, behind the scenes, she's doing a lot of work. And I'm impressed. I'm interested to see more of her in general.
Yeah, during that first season, I wasn't entirely sure that Luthen wasn't working for her. The first time I watched it, I was like, "Oh, is this kind of like Batman Begins kind of Ra's al Ghul thing where we think Ken Watanabe's Ra's al Ghul, but actually, I was thinking the first time I watched it through, and now it's just like, no, she's just like she just doesn't suffer bullshit, and she will speak truth to his power. I think Luthen is a really interesting character.
I love Stellan Skarsgård. I love him so much, and him being in Star Wars is just thrilling for me. So he's so talented. I love him.
Shout out TJ Zwarich, who grabbed a quick interview with him on the red carpet right here on the Agents of Fandom channel, where he talks about this probably being one of his favorite, if not the most favorite role of his in his entire career. Wow. Although he did enjoy running around naked in Dark World. He said that was quite enjoyable as well. So those are some great moments, and make sure you check out those interviews that we have a bunch of them here on the Agents of Fandom channel, including the actress and actor of Dedra and Cyril, which is like so fun. Those two love the characters that they play. Before we wrap up, Carlos, what have you made of these 3 episodes? Do you like these 3 episodes more than 1 through 3? And so far, how has season 2 lived up to your expectations?
I don't think I like these 3 episodes more than episodes 1 through 3. But these 3 episodes are, because I know like this is the final season, I'm starting to think of like, okay, how are we getting to the end game where I'm assuming we're going to kind of leave off right where, Andor is when we see him first in Rogue One, right? Like, I'm assuming that's kind of where, like, kind of like Rogue One leads right into A New Hope. I'm kind of expecting that. I loved from these 3 episodes though, just sort of the themes of like, hey, these guys are also, or at least Luthen is also kind of preaching like, don't be attached, no attachments, which Star Wars, we know that is a common thread and a common error. I loved how we get to see the Empire looking at Gorman as an opportunity in that, in that way of like, we're going to provoke them. We're going to poke the bear and then we will come down hard. But Luthen also being like, they're going to poke the bear and everyone will see them come down hard. Like, he is totally okay with what he can clearly see is going to happen. Like that line where Andor says like, Gorman's going to burn, and Luthen says it's going to burn bright. Like, that's incredible dialogue. So I am loving this. This is, I like, chef's kiss. Love it so much.
Jamie, your thoughts on episodes 4 through 6?
Yeah, I definitely like 1 through 3 more because 6 pissed me off. And let me just say, we didn't really talk about it. It's not just because of Cinta. You're just gonna throw Benjamin Bratt at me without a warning? That's crazy. You need to release a press release before the season and let us know about that. It'd be different if Jimmy Smith was only in the prequels. Like, and then like, okay, fine. But the fact that he was in Rogue One, he was in Obi-Wan, you can't just bring Benjamin Bratt. I mean, I do think he's a great recast choice. I do think that like if you're gonna pick somebody, great option. But like, I thankfully that I saw an article today, a headline. So I did get a little spoiled, and I was glad, because if that had just happened, I think I would have felt like I was going crazy. Like glitch in the Matrix. What the fuck? So I just think that was a weird choice not to tell us. Like, why is
Isn't
that
it funny how
prime?
sometimes Star Wars is keeping their cameos closer to the vest than Marvel is right now?
Like, it's not a cameo if it's a recast. It's just confusing.
At first, I was thinking like, why would you recast this character for a 5-second cameo that's completely unnecessary? But again, thinking like they've got to get to the end of this story, I'm like, okay, well, we know Leia's got to be part of the Resistance by the end of Rogue One, right? Like, we've got to start getting those, her family's got to start showing up a little bit more. And I dig, I love Benjamin Bratt. Like, my wife was just watching Miss Congeniality the other day, and like, I'm all for it. A fine looking man, a handsome man.
Yes.
And yeah, I'm good with Senator Organa having his Brat moment. He's in his Brat era. I'm not in the YouTube chat, but I get to say the things.
Anyway, the last thing I will ask about this season so far, how do you feel about the 1 year in between arcs? Because I will say, coming into episode 4, it felt like a complete readjustment again that I did in episode 1, and where I almost took like another 30 minutes just be like, where are we? What's going on? What happened since the last time I saw you, which was 5 days ago, but apparently a year ago. So you gotta like, it feels like every episode 1 has to recap you what's been going on between like 3 and 4, and then now 6 and 7. Jamie, I'll toss it to you.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
I'm kind of mixed on it, because I think it works well for what they're doing, but because this show's only 2 seasons and the second season is taking such a different approach, like if this was like a 3, 4, or 5 season series and the final season did that, it'd be like, oh, that's kind of cool. But it's almost a little jarring, as though they have to, like, they're trying to race towards Rogue One, and I think TJ said it in the comments earlier, like that he wishes it had another season, and I think they probably could have done that. I had 3 seasons, but either way, it's still like good. Like even though I was pissed off, it's still such a well written, mostly a really good show. So it's an interesting choice that I don't have really strong feelings about either way.
Carlos, does it bother you at all?
Okay. I will say that it is distracting. It feels like this was 3 seasons, and it was going to be, season 2 was going to be 1 year apart. Season 3 was going to be, like a 1 year jump between 2 and 3, and then a 1 year jump in the middle of season 3 to get us that same 4 year span. Because we're kind of rushing through 12 episodes is kind of, it doesn't feel right to say, but we are kind of rushing because we know we've got to get to we've got to leave these characters at a certain point if they're going to say the thing they want to say, right? It just feels like this should have been a third. It feels like there's a 3rd season missing somewhere. Like, yeah, where else would it be?
Apparently it was originally 5. That's crazy. That's a lot.
In a year, because like that makes sense. 1 a year.
You want a slow moving show? Make this 5 seasons. Yeah.
You just see like a 5-minute sequence of Cyril just making coffee.
Yeah. I will say that today, like when I was watching it, I was like, oh man, only 2 weeks left. I'm like, oh, but that's still 6 episodes, and that feels like we only have 2 episodes left, which is not true. So it's interesting.
Quick plugs for some interviews we did. Genevieve O'Reilly, Stone Skarsgård. We have those interviews up from the red carpet. We also have interviewed Denise Go and Kyle Solar from Deidre and Cyril, if you want to check those out as well. And also, Thunderbolts is coming out this week. Carlos, I don't know if you heard about that. A little movie coming out tomorrow.
Marvel? What's that? Tell me more.
We had a nice sit-down interview with Jake Schreier. Make sure to check that out on the channel as well. And we will give you our full thoughts on Thunderbolts Friday, 8 p.m. here on the channel. But tomorrow will be myself and TJ, a.k.a. Fat Thor, giving you our Comic Corner episode, our live Comic Corner episode, where we talk about this book right behind me, Ultimate Spider-Man, number 16. Oh my God, it's been going on for a while now. Ultimate Spider-Man 16, which is incredible. Wild twist in this issue. If you haven't been spoiled, Godspeed. It's crazy twist. And also, I did pick up a TVA book that may have some MCU implications again, even though they said it didn't. It sounds like it may. They don't know. We don't know. We're going for the ride as well. As always, Carlos, what do you have going on socials, on the Agents of Fandom? What do you got going on?
Agents of Fandom, I'm working on a piece about Andor that I believe we're scheduling to kind of come out right around the finale. The finale 3 hours that they're going to drop. And it's just sort of my thoughts on what Andor kind of has to say to us and us in the real world and what we're kind of going through right now. So that's what I've got going on. And also, I don't know, Damon, you've read Ultimates, the one that was just like all epic
Thor
poetry. Yeah,
it was very rhymey. Thor poetry.
The Thor moment where he says we do not bargain with autocrats and their oppressions. I was like, whoa, okay. I see you, Jonathan Hickman. Welcome to the Resistance.
Dennis Camp, actually.
Oh, I'm sorry. Apologies, Dennis Camp. Welcome to the Resistance. Yes.
Dennis Camp has been killing it on the Ultimates. Ultimate Spider-Man, Ultimate Wolverine, Ultimate Black Panther has been pretty good. Ultimate X-Men, you will either like it or you won't. Very different. It is very, very, very different. But we've been enjoying it here. Go check out those Ultimate comics. Go check out those Absolute comics. As I mentioned earlier, Free Comic Book Day is on Saturday. Go find your local comic shop. Jamie, what do you have going on Phase Hero and elsewheres?
Well, first I want to say, Carlos, I look forward to reading that article. Sounds good. It sounds like you might have to write the same kind of piece for Thunderbolts because there's a lot of that going on in Thunderbolts too. So that's just pitching you ideas. Let's see. Face here, like I said, has our big Thunderbolts episode. We've actually recorded it, all four of us in the same room together at IMAX headquarters. That was a really cool thing we got to do. It's always really special when the four of us are in the same room. So, and then my other podcast, Love in the Time of Hydra, we are winding down season 2 of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. There's only 2 pod episodes left of season 2, but then this Friday, we will be celebrating the 10th anniversary of Age of Ultron. Thursday is the 10th anniversary, and so that's going to be on our Patreon. Don't know the time yet, so follow us at LegoPod to get those details. But I love Age of Ultron very much, and I'm very excited to talk about it. I can't believe it's been 10. That movie changed my life. Listen to the podcast to find out why.
That movie, look, I don't know if anyone outside of the podcast knows who my favorite Avenger is. They may or may not have a bow and arrow. That movie gave me my favorite Hawkeye moment.
Is it the moment with my favorite character?
Probably.
It's my
where
favorite scene.
We're flying on a rock, we're fighting space aliens. None of this makes sense. Yeah, I love that's the most Clint Barton thing Jeremy Renner has ever said.
If you step out that door, you are an Avenger. Is one of my favorite lines that he gets to say.
Great line. All right, that'll do it for this episode. I almost said issue. I caught myself. That'll do it for this episode of the Agents of Fandom podcast. As always, make sure you follow our socials on Twitter, and TikTok at Agents Fandom, at Agents of Fandom, everywhere else like on Facebook and Instagram. Thank you so much for joining us this week, Carlos, Jamie. Thank you for taking the time. TJ will be back next week with some surprise interviews that should be dropped by the time he comes back in Toronto. Very exciting indeed. Once again, thank you all for listening. We'll be back tomorrow here on the channel with Comic Corner at 10 a.m. Eastern. So join me for that. We'll talk some comics. Even if you don't read comics, it'll be great. Join us. Thanks again.